Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We've just started our recording, as you heard. We're going to go ahead and get started. We'll be letting people in as they join us. We wanted to start first with thanking the Access Helps team for co-hosting with us today. If there's anyone that's joined us from Access Helps that would like to say a few words, we'd be happy to hear from you. Okay, hearing none, we do encourage
Oh,
everyone.
I think Gabriel's on the line and he's in the process of unmuting.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, how you doing? Good afternoon. My name is Gabriel Tua. I work for Access Help. We are a website. We hold resources for small businesses such as loans, grants, programs. Um, if I don't know if you guys could put in the chat the website or what's possible, but we would recommend everyone to log into the site and check it out.
Thank you, Gabriel. Um, and we will put everything in the chat, including the website to Access Helps as well as the Able Loan. Brittany's doing it for us, so thank you. Being respectful of everybody's time today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. I want to also introduce my co-host, Matthew Piggott, who is with the Miami-Dade Chamber. Matthew, if you just want to introduce yourself and say a couple words.
Good morning, y'all. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Pyle of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, and thank you for taking the time to be here today. We're excited to assist you in your business.
Thanks, Matthew. And my name is Maria Cocho. I'm with Partners for Self-Employment. We are the financial partner on the Miami Open for Business project. What my good friend Matthew didn't mention is that he's also one of the technical assistance providers on the project. So as we talk a little bit more about this loan program and what it can be used for and how you can access it, there'll be individuals such as Matthew who'll be able to assist you. And then also we have Brittany Morgan on the line with us today as well, and she's with Miami Foundation, the funder for this project. Brittany, if you wanted to say something.
Thank you everyone for being here. As you know, the Miami Open for Business program is sponsored by the Miami Foundation and carried out in deep partnership with our community development finance partner, Partners for Self-Employment. And so while most of our financial opportunities through Open for Business are closed, the ABLE loan is still open, and we're really excited to share about this financial opportunity with you today.
Thank you. We're gonna go ahead, like I said, and get started. We'll be letting people in as they come in. And if you miss anything, we'll be happy to answer questions at the end of today's presentation. We've got an hour set aside for today, and we'd like to keep to that. So let's start off with just some general information. So this particular program aims to support historically underserved small businesses and nonprofits in Miami-Dade County, ideally building resilience and generational wealth through the purchase and ownership of critical business assets. So those critical business assets were technology and equipment for the micro grant, which is already closed. Now we're looking at items such as inventory, uh, uh, vehicles, that sort of thing under the ABLE loan, and we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit more detail on exactly what can be purchased. One of the things that we also like to highlight is that this is funded through a $20 million grant from Wells Fargo, specifically devoted to acquiring assets for small businesses. This program runs through 2024. The last of the programs that is open, as Brittany mentioned, is the ABLE loan program. And that does close on the 15th of October. So this really is the last leg. And this particular info session is designed to help you complete an application that can be submitted prior to that deadline for funding. And Miami is one of four implementation areas throughout the US that are implementing an open for business program. So ours is Miami Open for Business, but there are other open for business programs. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, we were privileged enough to have the Miami Foundation select Partners for Self-Employment through a competitive process to allow us to be the financial partner on this particular program. So a lot of, or most of your communication is going to happen either with Partners for Self-Employment or through one of the technical assistance providers, of one of which is Matthew, and I'll introduce you to some of the others later on. As we mentioned earlier, there were some other open for business programs that were open. There was a micro grant program where we, for 3 years, 3 cycles, did micro grants. That program is currently closed. And then there was also a collective real estate ownership program, and that one is also closed. So the last one remaining open is ABLE. Now, one of the important things to keep in mind is even if you did receive one of the other programs, so let's say that you got a micro grant, just seeing a couple of the names that are joining us today, I recognize some of them. So if you received a micro grant program award, you can still do the ABLE. They're just for different assets. So ABLE, while microgrant was for technology and equipment, ABLE is for vehicles, inventory, renovating of space that you either own or lease, refinancing of predatory debt, financing the purchase of a succession business, or converting a business to an owner, employee-owned co-op. So you can still participate even if you already received a grant. Another thing to keep in mind as you consider applying for the ABLE loan is that even though there are some priority neighborhoods, and these priority neighborhoods were basically designed or selected because they are neighborhoods that have a large population of historically disadvantaged individuals. Even if you are not in one of these priority neighborhoods, you are still welcome to apply for the ABLE loan. And just keep in mind that we've got some neighborhoods identified in South Dade, Central Dade, and North Dade. They are listed on the website as well as here. We don't have to go through all of them, but understand that if you are in one of these neighborhoods, there are priority points allotted to your application. But if you are not in one of these neighborhoods, you're absolutely welcome to apply. So one of the common questions that we get regularly is, why apply for this loan? There's a deadline, it's coming up, is it really worth all of this, all of this work that I'm going to have to do in a relatively short period of time? And applying for a loan is work regardless of where you apply for it, right? Whether it be at a bank, whether it be at another nonprofit such as Partners for Self-Employment or credit union. But some of the things that make us competitive in this particular market is that we have an interest rate of 3% for for-profit businesses. That is regardless of your risk assessment. If you are able to be underwritten and qualify for a loan, if you are a for-profit, your interest rate will be 3%. And if you're a nonprofit and again can make it through underwriting and get a loan offer, your interest rate is 0%. Of course, this is a loan, so it can help build your business credit. We do report to both business and personal. This is asset-based lending, so it's really designed to promote an increase in revenue. So it's designed to help you acquire an asset that's going to promote and assist your business in increasing its revenue. So for example, if you have a lawn business and you're applying to get another truck, it is with the assumption that you will be able to do double the lawns, right? You've got one truck, now you'll have 2 trucks. You'll be able to increase your revenues significantly. The loan application that we've put out there is very similar to the loan applications that you're going to have to complete if you go to what would be considered a mainstream financing source, so a bank or a credit union. So actually going through this process and being able to take advantage of technical assistance to get your application complete actually better prepares you to apply for other loans in the future. And then last but not least, you can absolutely stack resources. So if you apply for an ABLE loan for a vehicle, and you already applied for the micro grant for technology, and then you need some additional capital that you are able to get from another either traditional or non-traditional lender, you can absolutely stack all of these resources. This is not designed to be a sole source of financing. So some details that again we think are rather important is you can apply for loans anywhere from 5,000 to 100,000. We're going to go over in a couple of minutes some of the required documents for completing an application. But it's anywhere like if you do up to 10,000, it's one set of requirements. Up to 25,000, it's another set, and then up to 100,000, it's a different set of documents. So it really is designed to help meet businesses wherever it is that they are. And again, deadline is October 15th with 3% and 0% interest rates for for-profits and nonprofits. With the loans, loans are really designed to help you acquire an asset and help you acquire an asset immediately. So some of these loans are going to be dispersed directly to the vendor if the vendor accepts a third-party payment. If the vendor does not accept a third-party payment, then it'll be up to the business owner if they're underwritten and successfully receive a loan to acquire the assets. We're looking at about a 30-day acquisition period. If you needed to push that a little longer, such as in the space of remodeling where there's permitting and different potential delays, we can definitely work out a payment plan and a disbursement plan that fits into what your project is, your total project is, which is on the list of reasons why we're going to ask you for a wide variety of documentation, including things like your project plan with timeline, etc. The application in its entirety is online. So in order for you to complete an application, you are going to visit the miamiopenforbusiness.org website. And you are actually going to go through a pre-qualification process where you're going to answer some questions about yourself as an individual to make sure that you qualify under the historically disadvantaged individuals requirement. We're going to ask some questions about your business, such as how long you've been in business, your annual revenue. For those of you who have looked at this in the past, and this is not your first application, and I can tell by some of the names, some of them do look familiar, so I know you've applied in the past. We have raised the revenue ceiling for this round, so and we did that very recently. So when you visit the site, you'll notice that now if you've got revenues at 3 million or under, you qualify, where before it was a maximum of 1 million. Now it's a maximum of 3 million revenue annually. The business still has to be open for a minimum of 2 years. So in order to be eligible to apply, I mean, we just went over a good part of this, but the business must be located in Miami-Dade County. So your business address, which is the address that you've got on your state registration, the address that you have on your Miami-Dade County tax receipt, the address that you have associated to your DUNS number, they all must be associated with your Miami-Dade County business address. When we say historically disadvantaged, we don't necessarily use the traditional definition that includes women as being historically disadvantaged. Historically disadvantaged for this purpose is disabled, Black, Latino, Middle Eastern, North African, Native Indigenous, LGBTQ+, veteran or refugee. So you must be, the owner of the business must be one of those items or one of those designations. Again, the business must be operational for at least 2 years. This is one of those items that that can sometimes trip somebody up. When we say in business for at least 2 years, we do not mean that you are have your state registration for 2 years. We're looking at, have you been transactional, right? Have you been making money and spending money? Do you have your business bank statements? And do you have your income tax returns? So we're looking at transactional for the last 2 years, not just 2 years at some point in history, but the last 2 years consecutively. And again, we're looking at revenue, or in the case of a nonprofit, operating budget of 3 million or less. You can with these particular funds, we can do items, and you can combine, right? So it doesn't have to be only to buy a vehicle, only to do remodeling. You can actually select more than one item. They just cannot be items beyond what we've listed here as acceptable purposes for use of funds. So you can purchase a vehicle. That vehicle is for the purposes of operating your business. So I always pick on this particular person, and although I can't see all of the names, I'm hoping she's not on the line. But if she is, say hi. Uh, it's got to make sense for your business, right? So first round, we had an ice cream parlor apply for a Tesla and try to make the justification for the need for the Tesla the delivery of ice cream to houses and businesses and individuals and such. As you can imagine, there was, it was a hard time to try to convince us that that was an allowable use of funds for that vehicle. So it's got to be something that's related to your business, and it must be used for the purposes of the business. You can remodel and renovate a space. When we say remodel and renovation, we do not include things like furniture and fixtures. Remodel and renovation is for plumbing, electrical, knocking down walls, putting up walls, that sort of thing. And you can do that to a space that you own or a space that you lease. But if you lease the space, you must be able to show that you have site control of that space for the life of the loan. So let's use an example. You have $100,000. You apply for $100,000 to remodel and renovate a space that you lease. You want 5 years to pay that back. Your lease must be for a minimum of 5 years from the date that we disperse in order for us to be able to do that, because you have to have control of the space for the length of time that you're making your payments. I can tell you that we have had quite a few businesses use this as an opportunity to negotiate a lease extension at very favorable terms, because in essence, you are investing $100,000 in somebody else's business. You can purchase inventory, and this is really designed to allow you to purchase bulk inventory beyond what you would normally be able to purchase with your regular cash flow. And you can use it to buy like already created or made inventory, or bulk materials such as textiles or ingredients that will help you make your end product. So you can do inventory. You can refinance predatory debt. This is another one that usually has a lot of questions around it. In order for you to refinance predatory debt, there's some very specific rules that we got to follow. The predatory debt must be taken on for the purpose of purchasing a business asset. That asset must still be in the business. It must still be in working order, and the life of the asset must exceed the life of the loan. So let's say that you purchased a computer 4 years ago at a predatory interest rate, and you still owe it, and you want to refinance it. You can only refinance what you still owe on it. Of course, the interest rate must be predatory. You must still have the computer. And because computers usually depreciate at a rate of 1 to 3 years, and if the computer is 4 years old, we wouldn't be able to finance it, because its usable life is beyond the time of the loan. So we're looking for assets that are still have a usable life, that will fall within the loan cycle, because we're going to use it as collateral on the loan. You can do succession financing. So this is where you're going to purchase a business, let's say, from somebody else, like another family member, or you're going to purchase a legacy business, a business that's, very specifically part of the culture and fabric of a neighborhood, and its loss would be truly saddening to the neighborhood, or would cause the neighborhood some type of inability to gain access to certain supplies, materials, foods, etc. You can use this for that succession financing. And then, of course, we've got the cooperative ownership conversion allowance, which basically can be used for the expenses around taking a business that is currently owned by an owner or owners and converting that to an employee-owned co-op, where now the employees are going to be the owners of the business that they are operating. This particular model seems to be successful in businesses such as agriculture, cleaning businesses, home health care businesses, those types of models. But we're absolutely open and interested in seeing any co-op conversion ideas that may come out. So some of the things that we cannot do with these loans, because inevitably we find we get applications where when we ask for the proposed use of funds, we have things like staffing, right? So somebody who needs to make payroll, somebody who's needs to have new utilities installed, or somebody who wants to have like a new licensing or a new training for their business. And while we understand that these are business expenses, and oftentimes somebody may need to take out a loan in order to cover some of these expenses, the Miami Open for Business ABLE loan is really not designed for that. There are other loan programs available throughout Miami-Dade, funded by Miami-Dade County and federal funds, where you might be able to access these types of financing. So if you do need financing for these items, even though Open for Business is not the right program, please reach out to a technical assistance provider or reach out to us, and we're happy to put you in contact with another lender that may be able to assist you. And then, of course, the way that the program was designed is it had three kind of components, and those the allowable expenses for the components don't overlap. So the technology grant was for technology, machinery, and equipment. The ABLE loan is for vehicles, inventory, remodeling, etc. And then real estate funding was under CREO. So they're not interchangeable. Each program had its purposes for financing. So just some things that you may want to like think about and prepare. Make sure you've got all your tax returns in order. Make sure all your financial transactions are recorded in whatever finance system you use. If you use something like a QuickBooks or a Quicken or something like that, make sure all your transactions are recorded so you can run some reports. And make sure that you are clear on what asset you want to purchase. Inevitably, we will get at least a handful of applications each round where when it says proposed use of funds, it says something like unsure, we'll let you know, thinking about it, like that sort of no, like you've got to specifically outline what it is that you're going to purchase. You're going to have to know what it costs. You're going to have to know what vendors you want to use. You're going to have vendor estimates for the assets that you want to purchase. So be very clear on what it is that you want to purchase, and also be very clear on the fact that this really is designed to help you increase your cash flow, your revenues. So if you're going to invest in something, let it be something that's going to help you increase your business. So I talked a little bit about at the beginning about the fact that we have three loan sizes. So we've got up to 10,000, up to 25,000, and up to 100,000. And this is actually available on the website, so no need to like take a bunch of notes or screenshots or anything. Just keep in mind that one, each loan size has different requirements. So take a look and be honest with yourself on what it is that you can produce, right? If you cannot produce 24 months of business bank statements, $100,000 is not the right loan amount for you to apply for. If you can produce 12,000, if you can produce 12, then maybe the $25,000 mark is where you want to land. So make sure that you look at these requirements and be honest with yourself so that you're not spending some time trying to apply for a loan and complete an application that you're just not going to be able to be successful with. And then for the nonprofits, because nonprofits are not owned by an individual, of course, we're asking for some different items. So over here where we ask for your Florida ID, we're not asking for that over here with your nonprofit application. You'll notice that as you complete the nonprofit application, we're not asking for any personal information on the owners. So the nonprofit application is a shorter application, but very specific to nonprofits and what nonprofits need to have regulatorily. And then the for-profit application is specifically for for-profit businesses. Now, something I've got to say, and I'm not trying to be funny, but when we say nonprofit, we mean the IRS designation of nonprofit. We have had for-profit businesses that apply under the nonprofit because they're not making profits. So make sure that if you're applying for nonprofit, it is because you already have the IRS designation for being a nonprofit organization in the state of Florida.
Awesome. Quick question, Maria. We have some clarifications around the renovation and remodeling use case. And so, for example, if somebody wanted to finance construction at a new place of business, and then also clarify what's included in remodeling, whether it can cover demolition, walls, windows, doors, just more questions about construction and remodeling.
Yeah, so remodeling and renovation can include basically all of that, right? So it can include knocking down walls, putting up walls, it could flooring, it can include putting in a bathroom if you're moving into a new location and you need a bathroom. If you're moving into a new location and it's a restaurant and you need to put up a hood, it'll include that. Your drainage, you can include that. What you can't buy is like the cash register, right? Because that would be an equipment and that would have fallen under the grant. Or you can't buy the tables and chairs because again, that would be equipment. So you can't do that. But the doors and the windows, so the purchasing of doors and windows specifically, if those doors and windows are needed as part of the remodel and renovation. So basically you don't have the window, right? The window, somebody knocked the window out because the building's been empty, or the window is no longer up to code, or the window is not energy efficient. And you have a contractor, right? Not Julio and them, but an actual contractor that's putting these in, and it's part of a complete like renovation plan, then yes, you can absolutely do that. And the doors as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Maria.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that usually comes up around remodel and renovation again is you have to have site control for the life of the loan. So if you are leasing the building, the lease has to say that it's okay for you to do the remodel and renovation, and your lease has to be through at least the maturity date of the loan. We of course would love for the lease to be longer than that because we want you to take advantage of your own, remodel and renovation as long as you possibly can, but at least the life of the loan. If we're an event production company, can we apply for the purchase of audio and production equipment? No, because you're not selling audio and production equipment, so that wouldn't be inventory. For you, that would be, in your situation, that would be what would have been allowed under the grant, which is technology and equipment. And the renting of the equipment is not it's not an asset that the business is acquiring. So no, you wouldn't be able to use it to rent equipment either. It sounds to me like what you might be looking for is a working capital loan. And like I said, reach out to one of the technical assistance providers or one of us, and we're happy to put you in contact with a few programs in Miami-Dade County that may be able to assist you. And I am a chatter, and we are 30 minutes in, so let me keep going. So Brittany's trying to make sure she can hear us. So hopefully you can hear us.
Yeah, everything's coming in great. Thanks for continuing, Maria.
Yeah. So we specifically decided when we designed the ABLE loan program, we specifically decided not to ask businesses to produce a business plan, marketing plan type of document or documents for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is that we know that they can be intimidating for individuals to prepare. especially if they don't already have one. And a lot of times, if a business already has a business plan or marketing plan, it really is outdated or maybe not created by the business owner, so isn't going to specifically give us the information that we're looking for. So in lieu of a business plan and marketing plan, we actually put together just 3 narrative questions. So we tried to keep it very, very simple. So there's 3 narrative questions that that are really designed to tell us what we would normally want to extract. I apologize for that. What we would normally want to extract from a business plan. So we're asking about your background, including your target market, how your target market is going to benefit from your product. We want to know about your staff and team because we want to know, how reasonable your projections are. And one of the ways that we do that is by looking at whether or not you have the human capital or access to the human capital to achieve what you say you're going to do. We're looking at you telling us all about the purpose, right? So how you're going to be investing these funds, a description of the asset, how it's going to increase or enhance your business. And then we're also looking at social impact. These questions are very, very similar in both the for-profit. Actually, I think they're identical in both the for-profit and the nonprofit application. And these are your 3 narrative opportunities to really explain to us what your business is, what it does, who it does it for, and then how getting these assets is really going to help enhance your business. One of the things that I will encourage you to do is to make sure when you write your narrative that they correspond to your financials. So we're going to ask, as part of this loan program, we ask for quite a few financial documents and projections, etc. So if you tell us that you have a staff of 5, and they do customer service for you, and then we look at your financials and there's no way to identify salary for 5 people, or if you tell us in your proposed use of funds that that you're going to buy a new truck, and in the purpose you tell us that that truck is going to, help enhance your business by, 10 new customers, and we look at your financial projections and it doesn't show that, those are all what we call yellow flags, right? So not quite red flags that might get you denied for a loan, but something that's going to make us have to kick back the application, go back to you with clarifying questions, and it's going to delay your process. So make sure that when you write your narrative, that you kind of test it against your financials and make sure that everything meshes and makes sense, because we are going to look, right? That's part of what being a loan underwriter is we're going to look at everything and we're going to see how it all works together. And these questions are available. You're going to be able to see them again. You're going to see them on the application. The application is designed to allow you to create a username and password, so that you can actually complete the application in stages. You don't have to complete it all at once. So once you go in and you log in and you take a look at the application, you're going to be able to flip through and you're going to be able to see all of the sections. So you'll know exactly what you have to prepare and you'll be able to see these questions again. So scoring well. So this is one of those things that inevitably people ask me all the time. How do I get enough points to get a loan? So the loan is a little bit, not, I shouldn't say more complicated. It's more involved than the micro grant, right? So like I said, I recognize quite a few names here. So I know some of you have gotten micro grants. With the micro grants, this was the scoring criteria, right? You're going to get 1 to 3 points in each of these areas. Do the owners represent many aspects, more than one, or many aspects of a historically disadvantaged community? Do they have paid employees with quality jobs? In Miami-Dade County, a quality job is considered $18 an hour. We also ask about whether or not your employees have benefits. And we also ask whether or not your employees have access to things like discounted healthcare, et cetera. Are you located in one of the historically disadvantaged communities? As I mentioned before, even if you are not, you are absolutely welcome to apply. But if you are, there are some points that are attached to your application. And then do the employees represent the communities, historically disadvantaged communities? So a couple of things. Inevitably, everybody will automatically have a bunch of employees making $18 an hour. We're going to test that against your financials. So make sure that your financials make sense with what, when you answer that question. Are you located in one of the historically disadvantaged communities? Inevitably, to get these points, we will have individuals that will select a historically disadvantaged community. Understand that we will run the address through Miami-Dade County's address check. So make sure that you understand which community you live in and that it corresponds to the one that you select. And then again, do the employees reflect the communities, historically disadvantaged communities? So one of the questions that we ask about your employees is, and I know that for some people it's considered quite invasive, but we do ask, the race, ethnicity, the race and ethnicity of your employees, and we ask to determine whether or not we can give you these points. And then in 1 to 5, you get points for things like having strong financial capacity. How do we gauge that? We look at your tax returns, we look at your bank statements, we look at your year-to-date financials, and then we look at your financial projections, and we test those projections against what you've told us you're going to buy and the reasonableness of you being able to hit those projections. You also get points for how do your goods and services benefit the community? So a lot of times people think, oh, they're looking to see if we're giving something away. That's not at all the situation. When we look at, your goods and services benefiting the community, do you provide a service or access to a product that may not be otherwise available in the community? Or do you provide these products or services in a culturally sensitive manner that may not be readily available in that community? Do you are you providing a service or a particular service to a very a historically disadvantaged subset of a community? So those are all ways that we look at what your benefits are to a community. Not necessarily whether or not you're making certain donations or things like that. We're also looking at will funding transform growth trajectories. So we're looking at your narratives. We're looking at where your business is a baseline. That's why we look at year to date, and then we look at projections. And are these projections going to allow for your business to grow in a significant manner? Under organizational capacity, we're looking at are you filing your tax returns on time? Do you have the team that you need in place? Do you have all of the licensing that you need? So those are all fall under organizational capacity. And then do you have a viable plan to acquire and deploy the asset that you want to buy? So, are you going to be able to, do you have a plan, right? Do you know where you're going to, you know what you're going to buy? You know what it costs, where you're going to buy it. We have the vendor estimate to show us the full amount. You know that the asset's available. You have on your financial projections a timeline that you're going to have to acquire it. You've explained in your narratives the amount of time that you need to get that asset operational. Sometimes an asset has to be in your possession for a period of time before it becomes operational, depending on what the asset is, such as if it's a van to transport children to and from school. Let's just pick on one of our clients. That van has to be insured, and it has to be wrapped, and it's got to have certain things. So we know that you've got a plan to deploy it, but that plan is going to take 30 to 60 days or whatnot. So we're going to look at all of your narratives to help determine that. The second part of underwriting, and this is the one that's going to be new to those of you who haven't applied for a loan before, is, so the first part is, do you meet all of the requirements and the spirit that the Miami Open for Business program was designed around? And then the second half of underwriting, which is kind of my bread and butter, is do you have the capacity to repay a loan, right? That is what we are looking for here. These are not grants. They are not forgivable loans. These are loans that we absolutely expect to be repaid on. And in order for us to do that, we've got to gauge your capacity. We've got to look at your credit. So we're going to look at your credit. This is not a credit-based program, and we don't have a credit minimum. But we are looking at your credit in its entirety, right? So regardless of the number, we're looking at, do you have delinquencies? Are those delinquencies recent? Do you have charge-offs? Are those charge-offs recent? We're looking at collateral. Are you collateralizing this loan, right? Are you buying something that we can take a hard lien on, such as a vehicle? Or are you doing something like a remodel and renovation, which is we can take a blanket UCC filing on the entire business and its current assets and future assets, etc., but there isn't a hard lien on something. And in that case, do you have some other collateral that you can put up? We're also looking at current conditions, including market conditions. The type of business that you're running, how is it currently doing in the market? And then other conditions such as job retention, job creations. We're looking at character. And this is all, part of this is, excuse me, part of this is looking at things like your credit report and looking at things like the other information that you provide, including narratives, other references that we may be able to look at, both business and personal. Can the business pass due diligence, right? There are a lot of businesses that when we start doing due diligence, all of a sudden the applicant is not the owner of the business, or the business itself has had to shut down multiple times due to having outstanding debts or not paying their sales tax. We've seen that recently. So all of that falls under character. And then your debt to income ratio, right? Individual. So we're looking at the business, but we're also looking at the individual, because in the event that this business is not able to sustain itself and not able to stay open, the owners are each guaranteeing this loan. So we're looking at debt to income for the business as well as each of the owners individually. And each of the owners, regardless of the percent of the business that is owned, each of the owners is going to be guaranteeing this loan. Something new that we've just launched is an Able Loan Simulator tool, and you can actually use this right on the website. And basically what you'll do is, you know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a look at it really quickly? So when you visit our website, this is the page that you're going to visit. You're going to come here, you're going to apply for an Able loan. While we're on the page, I'm going to give you guys a 30-second tour of what I think are super important parts of the website that you should be familiar with. So get support. Absolutely. Historically, the most one of the things that one of the criteria, I guess, that we notice that most of the successful applicants have is that they take advantage of technical assistance. So to get support through this program, and Matthew's going to talk to you in just a minute a little bit more about technical assistance, but you can come here through Get Support, then through this program. You can select a technical assistance provider in one of the areas, one of the historically disadvantaged neighborhoods. If you're not in one of those areas, as I said, we absolutely welcome your invitation. We absolutely welcome your application, and we invite you to visit Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council to get support. And if you're a nonprofit, our partners at Radical Partners are there to support you. Depending on where you want to get support, you're just gonna, go to that particular agency based on the neighborhood or if it's countywide, because it's not one of these neighborhoods. You'll apply under Get Support. You'll fill out the document that each of them will have there. And that's how you're going to apply to get support from one of the TA providers. You can also come over here to contact us. And this is if you want to contact somebody on like PSE staff, somebody on the funding team, you can fill out this document. Absolutely. Do not recommend this be your first point of contact. This is the longest wait because we download these once a day. You can give us a call on this number, or you can text us on this line. I usually recommend that people use the text line because it is a quick and easy way for us to respond, especially if you're not offended by after hours responses and things like that. Absolutely use the text line. So now back to the application. So you're going to go to Able Loan. On the side here, you're going to see all kinds of information that you may need. So additional information on what you can apply for, eligibility, all of that stuff. And then here is the Able Loan Simulator, which is the tool that I was just showing you. And I see that we've got some messages in the chat. Give me 2 seconds and I'll be right with you. Here you're going to come in, you're going to enter some information, like, what you want to apply for. Enter some data, some information. You're going to tell us how many times you've been withdrawn over the last 12 months, let's say twice. What's your average monthly expenses? I don't know, let's say $500. Your average income is $700. Do you have any contracts? Let's go with yes. You're wanting to buy a new vehicle because you have some new contracts. Let's say that that's going to give you an extra, I don't know, $5,000. Let's say that our credit is good. You're absolutely up to date with your tax returns because we know you are good stewards of your money. You have no other income. Here you're going to enter some information on your cash flow right from your bank statements. And as of right now, you what would be considered a good risk because the amount of money that you have coming in and your credit is enough to make your loan payments. This is absolutely not binding. This is not an approval, but you're at a good risk to complete an application and have it be end in favorably. So let's see what it would look like if we changed this dollar amount. So you're still in good shape because your anticipated monthly loan payment is $173, and you actually have an additional $500 every month that you could use to pay this. So we upped the loan amount just for the purposes of taking a look at this. Here you're considered high risk. So if you're considered high risk, you do not have enough money coming in order to make a loan payment. So this is where we don't want to completely discourage you. We want you to reach out to a technical assistance provider, but we want to manage your expectations. You're at a high risk for the dollar amount that you want to purchase. This is where the dollar amount that you want to borrow for the assets that you want to purchase. This is where you're going to sit down with a technical assistance provider and you're going to really take a look at, can you change what it is that you want to purchase? Do you really need to purchase all of these items right now? Can you use the loan towards something else that'll help you increase your revenue so that you can on your own purchase some items at a later date? And right before we move over to Matthew, and I do apologize, we are moving rather quickly, but I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time. But before we move over to Matthew, I see that we've got about 7 questions in the chat. So can we answer those real quick?
Oh, I think most of the questions have been answered live, but if you want to go over them and make sure the responses are correct, for example,
they've already been responded to. We're good.
Yeah. Okay. For example, Susan asked you, we have about 6 to 7 bank accounts. Do we need to provide the bank statements for all of those accounts?
So the answer is yes, because we're going to take the answer. So you have 6 or 7 business bank accounts. And the answer, if there are 6 or 7 business bank accounts, then the answer is yes, because I'm assuming you are running income and expense through all of those accounts. And when you put together your year-to-date financials and we want to test those numbers against the verifiable monies that you have coming in, we're going to need to see all of those accounts. Now, if you have an account let's just say is an account where you have um, I don't know, some monies that's not going to be reflected, that we're not going to have to test anywhere on your tax return, year-to-date financials, or prior year financials, then no. But if we're going to need to have those numbers to test out, yes.
Great, that sounds good. I don't think there are any other unanswered. Well, someone did ask what's the average credit score that an individual should have to pass underwriting.
So we're not credit based. We are points based. So we have seen individuals with incredibly questionable credit make it through underwriting because their financials are solid otherwise, right? They've got contracts, they've got good cash flow, their income tax returns are showing positive income tax every year, the last couple of years. Um, they can show probability of repayment and they've got collateral, right? So the trick to us is we're not like a bank where we're gonna minimum credit score, minimum debt to income ratio. We do a point system. So you got to get to the magic number of 80 points. And you can get to 80 points a lot of different ways, even with incredibly questionable credit.
Thank
Now,
you
if
so
you've
much
got
for
incredibly
answering.
questionable credit, negative bank statements, no tax returns, and like all these other factors, then you got some issues we got to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over to my friend Matthew to talk to you from a technical assistance provider's perspective, kind of where you can get technical assistance, even though we've already gone over this, and then what you can reasonably expect to get from a technical assistance provider, and what you're going to have to do some work on your own about. So Matthew, if you'll just let me know when you want me to flip the slide, I'm happy to do that for you.
Thank you, Maria. And also thank you again for just providing such a detailed overview and insight into this program. What y'all have the ability to apply for is something that comes around very, very rarely. You will not find a 3% interest, 0% interest loan for out there in the market at all. And one of the great things about this Miami Open for Business Foundation and the partnership with Partners for Self-Employment is that you have the ability to learn this process, to access money if you may not be competitive for conventional lending or even other CDFIs at a very low interest rate. So this is a great opportunity to invest in your business. And the difference between many other programs is that this comes with support. The Miami Open for Business Foundation wanted to make sure that you have wraparound support that can help you with this application, point you to other opportunities, and be able to provide a support system around your business and your ability to access capital. So we have partners throughout Miami-Dade County. I represent the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. Our target area is Miami Gardens and Opa-locka. You have branches that focus on North Miami and North Miami Beach. Central Dade, where you have Attapala Collaborative CDC, which targets Allapattah area. Prospera, that targets Hialeah and Little Havana. The 79th Street Corridor, that focuses on Brownsville, Liberty City, Little Haiti. Opportunity Connect, those Overtown. Then you also have South Dade Connections that focus on Homestead, Leisure City, and Aranja. Now, each of these partners are, while their target areas, you see they're aligned to the disadvantaged areas that is reflected on the application. But they have the ability to assist you. And one of those organizations that can assist anywhere in Miami-Dade County is the Florida State Minority Developer Council. And if you are a nonprofit, we strongly encourage you to reach out to Radical Partners. Now, that's not saying that these are the only ones you can go to if you live in this area. If you have prior relationships or you work better, feel free to do so. But these organizations are targeting those areas to make sure they're there to support you. And now, on the next slide, you will see some points about what we cover. One of the things, what we do as technical assistants is we assist you with the application. We do not do the work for you. We assist you. So we've been trained on navigating the application website. If you need to find If you have a hard time going through the website, filling out anything, need any explanations, we're here to do that. But the best use of our time is to help you on completing and reviewing your financial forms. This is your year-to-date financials, which I believe is the most important document. Once you're able to get your year-to-date financials accurate and on point, then you can use that to do your budget for 2024. You can use that to do your financial projections for the next year. But we want to make sure you have that. And Maria, if you want to pull up some of those templates, feel free to do so, so that they can see that. We do encourage you to use the templates. It just makes it a lot easier for those that are reviewing the application, but you can use your own QuickBooks reports, documents, and things of that nature. Those templates are guides. They are there to help you. It makes it a lot simple, and many of our providers are trained on those templates. So when you go into your application and you will go into a section where it says require attachments, and in that section, you will see the templates that you can use. We strongly encourage you to take advantage of those templates so that you can just simply transfer your information to that area. And I think those templates are within, oh, I think there's optional financial temp. Okay, there we go. No, and you scroll back up.
Oh,
Yep, there we go. There we
took
go.
me a second to find. I'm sorry.
So you can pull up the cash flow year to date. And the key thing that we're going to work through is to make sure that this reflects your bank statements. There's a reason why they're asking for your bank statements. There's a reason why they're asking for this cash flow. They want to see that you know how to manage your money, you know where your money is at. And then the main thing is whether or not you can pay them back. So one of the questions you saw in the loan simulator was, are you overdrafting? They want to see that. And this is not something you can hide. When you complete this form, it's about being as accurate as possible, being accurate, period. Because if you're not accurate, it's going to delay the process because they're going to ask, they're going to test these things out. So it's important that you see these documents and you complete them. And we're here to help you. So we strongly encourage you to at least schedule an appointment with our technical assistance providers as soon as possible. Complete the application and have us review it for you. That will help you to make the process a lot easier when you hit submit, because when they come with questions, it will dramatically reduce the number of questions if you follow through. We have quite a few clients that we provide assistance, they do what they need to do, and they get pushed back, and then they come back to us, and then we have to do it again. So let's try and get those things done as soon as possible. And then also the narratives. Like Maria said, those narratives, your whole application tells a story. And we want to make sure that your financials match your narrative, match your proposed use of funds. So we're able to sit down with you, help you think through what you will use this funding for, help you spot whether or not you can afford this, help you put out your financial projections so that you know what's going on, and complete every single aspect of this. If you have questions, we're here to assist you. And on the next slide, you will see some of the things that you will have to do on your own. And at the end of the day, you have to meet the requirements. And it's not something that we can do for you. It's very clear. This funding comes with rules and regulations. If you don't meet the requirements, don't apply. You can go through the process to learn and prepare yourself for other opportunities. And we strongly encourage you to do that, because once you get your back end in order and you have your tax returns, your bank statements, you know how to complete these applications, enter data into financial forms, it makes it so much easier to go after other opportunities. We are unable to do that data entry for you. But as a chamber, I'll recommend you to some of our members that may help do it for you, some accountants and things of that nature. So we can do that. But as technical assistant providers, we won't do it for you. We will guide you and show you and review. So continue to gather up your personal documents to get what you need. And at the end of the day, all you have to do is click the link, go to that page, find the technical assistant provider, and schedule an appointment. We are getting to the last few weeks of this program, which means we're going to get booked up. So I would strongly encourage you to select the appointment now, complete that application, go through the application, try to apply, get as much as you can done, and make that TA appointment as productive as possible. And you do that by going through the application, by completing the documents to your best of your abilities, and then coming to us with questions or having us to review it. If you come in and you have not started the application, it's almost a waste of time for us. And so we strongly encourage you to put your best foot forward and let us review it. So I think that is it. Is there anything else y'all would like me to cover, Brittany and Maria?
Nothing else. Thank you, Matthew. We're really thorough. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. There is a question, Maria, I hope that you can handle both in the Q&A from a nonprofit and about the at-home renovation, the home office.
Sure. Let's start with the nonprofit question. So we are on to question and answer. So if you've got any questions, either drop them in the chat or kind of, raise your hand and we're here to chat. So let's start with this nonprofit one. A nonprofit renovating a building. Going back to loan period question, what would be 30 to 90 days after closing? We are used to grants where funds are usually received many months after the application is submitted, and grants usually have grant periods. So I ask when we should start the projections, for example, starting January 2025 through the end of the loan cycle. So what I will tell you is that our goal and what we work towards is to have an answer to you. Well, to have initial feedback to you within 10 working days. That initial feedback can be one of three things. It can be great, we're prepared to offer you X amount, click here to make your appointment. Like that's that type of feedback. It can be we are not the right program for you, based on XYZ, but we think you may be a better fit for XYZ programs, and some information on other places to get services. What the initial response is 99.9% of the time is we need additional information. Something doesn't add up, something doesn't match something. During due diligence, something entertaining came up on a credit report, or something came up on just doing, searching the business, or you forgot to attach something, which is oftentimes what happens. Or you attached everything, but it doesn't jive, right? The financials don't jive with the narratives, don't, that sort of thing. So usually the initial response is we need more information and this is what we need. And we strive to get that to an applicant within 10 days. From the time that an applicant is approved, right? Or denied, but approved in this case, we want to know what it would look like. When an applicant is approved, an applicant gets an email saying, you're approved. This is the amount that you're approved for. And it's not a secret. We've already had conversations with you about if we need to reduce that loan number because of your financial capability, or if we can approve a larger number, but we're only going to disperse it to you if you meet certain criteria going forward. Our goal is to get you your disbursement out as quickly as possible. So that final approval communication comes with a link. You basically click on it, you make your own appointment, a time and a date that's available and that works for you based on a Calendly. You come in, all of the owners come in, they execute the contracts because they're all being held personally guaranteed. And then we start with the disbursement process. So the disbursement process really depends on everything we have going on, right? So right now, a loan disbursement is going to take a little bit longer because we're in the middle of dispersing over $1 million in grants. So, loans kind of are going to get, a little bit delayed. By the time that most of you that are on this call would get a disbursement, there would be minimal to any delay in getting your transfer. And then we would, depending on what the asset is, we would either be paying to a vendor or to you as a business owner. You as a business owner, if we pay to you, have a certain number of days to acquire the asset and then get us proof that you've acquired it. So I hope that answered the question. I know that was a lot of talking, but.
Yeah, and if Susan, you have any follow-up questions, feel free to raise your hand or put a follow-up question in the chat. I do know that someone wants to know about the home renovations for home office.
So if that is your business, right, that's where your business is registered, that's your business address, and you need to do home renovations, we are looking at whether or not you own it or you lease it. And again, the lease requirements fall into place there. So if you're leasing the location, like the house or the apartment that you're doing renovation to, we need to know that you have a lease that exceeds the amount of time.
There's another question in the chat, Maria, around how long after the loan has been dispersed can an applicant begin repayment?
So we work with an app. So we try to be as individual as we possibly can, to make it work for the applicant, right? Our goal is for you to be successful, which is why it's so important for you to be really honest with us in your narratives and in your financial projections, because we're looking at that when we're designing a repayment plan. So we usually give people somewhere between 30 and 90 days to start making a payment. But if you need to acquire this asset, let's say that you are acquiring I don't know, some type of heavy equipment, bulldozer, backhoe, something like that, that would fall under a vehicle. And that has to be delivered to you. And the earliest delivery date is 120 days out. And then we know that you are going to be, it's going to take you another 30 days to start making money from it. And you need that money in order to make your payments. We can work out where like your first 3 months payments is smaller and then the payments grow over time. We can really tailor. That's one of the great things about this program and the relationship that we have with the Miami Foundation, is that we can really tailor a product that's going to help you be successful, but we can only do that with the information that you give us. So if you like super inflate your projections that you're going to be making all of this money day one, honestly, that's not going to help you get funded any sooner, really, for the most part. We want you to be honest with us so that we can design a repayment plan that's going to work. So if you need 180 days to start making that full payment, then maybe the first 3 to 6 months you're making partial payments, and then your payments grow over time.
Thanks for that, Maria. And then I think just further questions around the documentation, around ownership, around the home renovation, and also the timeline for micro grant funds received.
So timeline around, so let's do the home renovation one, because I think that's a follow-up question. Can you tell me again what that is? Like the timeline around home renovation?
Barbara's asked, and if you own it, what documentation is required? I indicated proof of address and proof of the business registration at said address. It has to be, a business that you've had there for some time.
Exactly. So we're going to look at your Sunbiz registrations. We're going to look at how long you were going to, verify that the business has been a home-based business. And as far as the ownership documents, we may ask you for some documents, especially if what happens sometimes is, especially when it's a home situation, is maybe the home is owned by somebody. Like let's just use a husband-wife example. Like let's say that the owner of the home, because we do all of that due diligence on our own, right? We'll come back to you if like the owner of the home is like the husband, but he's not part of the business and he doesn't own the business. So it's not the same name on the property as on the business. Like that sort of thing is where we would come back and we would require additional documentation and proof of access to that space for the renovation. But most of that we'll just get on our own during our own due diligence. Did that answer your question, Barbara? I hope, I think. You were gonna go with yes. And then somebody, I think you mentioned that somebody had a question on micro grant payouts. So all micro grant payouts have been processed. They're in the process of being paid out. And they're paid out in the order that the person came in and signed documentation. We try to keep it under 14 working days. Remember, I do not work Saturdays or Sundays. So we try to keep it under 14 working days. And as of now, I think we've kept everybody under 14 working days. So we're hoping that most of you will see anybody who's still pending a payment. Hopefully you will see your payments toward the end of this week, beginning of next week. So Eleni's Torres says that her payment is delayed. I mean, I'm happy to have that conversation. I'm happy to have that conversation separately. If you want to shoot me over an email, I'll take a look at where you are in the process.
Great. Well, if it seems that there are no other questions, we can wait and hold back on the line for a little bit if you'd like to ask your question privately. But we will be sending the meeting recording as well as all of the slides and the resources mentioned. And so we thank you guys for attending, and we'll hang on in case there's any lingering questions.